Hey, welcome to How To in a Few. Today we're going to take a look at hooking up a dryer vent. For like the last 20 years we've had one of those big long snaky things and the dryer doesn't fit into the wall area right, so decided to get one of these attachments made by Deflecto, and it can be adjusted, and what it does is allows you to get really close to the wall where your opening is in the wall, and this side goes to the dryer, and then you can adjust it. So it's meant to slide and then get snipped. You can snip the two end pieces that you don't need off after you've figured out what your adjustment settings need to be, and then you'll need some aluminum tape to kind of seal up. I mean, it's relatively sealed now, but there are some openings, and just to prevent the dust and the heat from getting in the house, we're going to go ahead and use the aluminum tape to seal that all up. And then on top of that, we'll seal up these connections with the aluminum tape too. And we also purchased some of these hand tightening clamps that we'll use just to kind of secure it up after we put the tape on, to keep everything from sliding around too much. And the other part of this job is this vent. This happens not to be a Deflecto, it's Everbilt, but the one that I've already removed from the house was a Deflecto, and it's lasted for close to 20 years, so I can vouch pretty much for Deflecto quality. We'll see what happens with this Everbilt. It's essentially the same kind of apparatus, and this comes through the wall and eventually is going to connect on here. Problem is, this is made to be a male connection, so we're going to end up snipping this so we can get this to spread a little bit and then put it on here. Alright, the only other issue I have is that I really don't want to cut this. Last time I cut it on the old one, it tends to crinkle up if you use snips. And so I was going to go ahead and install it and just have it extending from the house for about a couple of inches and paint this black. Part of the reason is that you have to keep this end. This end has some special notches. I mean, you can remove this, but these special notches allow it to snap on, so you really can't cut from that side. You have to make your cuttings on this side. So wife doesn't like the idea of it sticking out, so we're going to have to do some extra steps and mark to measure where we're going to make a cut. And I haven't decided yet how I'm going to cut. Might try to use a multi-tool instead of the snips, but let's see what happens. Let's go take a look at the wall outside. We'll go ahead and push this through the hole and see what kind of cuts we're going to have to make. Alright, so here we can see our hole, and I did spray some spray foam in there previously, so we have a nice kind of foam opening. And I was hoping this would just roll right through. A little bit of a ridge. Alright, so that's this end, at least what it's going to look like, and now we'll get a better idea if we look at it from the inside as to what we're going to have to cut, and we'll do kind of a trial and error thing to back the dryer in. I'm going to have to move the dryer in and out several times to get an idea of how that's all going to fit together. Alright, so here we see our vent coming through, and it sticks out considerably more than what I had imagined, so we will have to cut some of this. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. you can also see that monster of a snake thing that we had going on before. I'm going to try to make one more mark. So that's the maximum. I marked right there. That's the maximum that I want the pipe to extend into the room. Alright, so that'll probably end up being our cut line. Alright, so let me show you where we stand. Now I've cut this somewhat close to the line I marked. Started with a hacksaw and then finished with the snips. As you can see, still not as pretty as what I would like. I thought I could just snip one time, but I ended up having to snip quite a few times so that I could get that to expand enough to allow me to fit this in here. Now remember, that's going to get taped and clamped if I ever get it in there again. Alright. When it goes in pretty nice, and it actually stops when it meets the seam there, so we have like a natural stop in place. Now the height of the vent on my dryer stops at 6.5 inches. And this one off the floor used to be about 7.5, so we're actually going to be dropping to the dryer. Judging by the arrangement, dropping to this side, like this. Not by much, so we might even be able to get this kind of roughly rigged up on the dryer so we can make some marks and then make some cuts and tape everything up. Okay, I've inserted it through. I just want to get a feel again for how this is going to look. So what I feel like now is that the dryer is still going to be too far from the wall. So I'm going to try to cut a little more off and get us a little bit closer. Alright, so this is where we are now. I have a rough idea of the configuration we're going to need. I may not need to snip this beforehand. I will snip it once I'm sure. What else did I do? I shortened this, so now we're getting, you see I put it together with the clamp, but we're pretty close to the cut line. So this is going to get about as close to the wall as possible. It'd be nice if I could get a little bit closer, but I know that the clamp and the tape is going to be too big for that hole, and I don't feel like cutting that hole out anymore. So we'll get as close as we can there, and hopefully in the end we'll probably be within 5 inches, 6 inches of the wall. Before we were sticking out over a foot. So hopefully we'll see, and I may tweak it, see how much closer we can get it. But right now I'm going to go ahead and get us another clamp. We're going to clamp it roughly where I think it needs to be with the dryer, and see if we can't snake it through the hole without the without this one. So close. Alright, so after that rough fit, I was running into some problems with this lip here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'm going to leave a little bit on just in case I have to make an adjustment. because to move this up I will have to go in this direction. And it needs to be up just a little bit, but mostly tilted. So I think we're probably good for a cut right about in this area. And that's what we're gonna go do now. All right, so a considerable amount of time has passed. I did one kind of push through, and it was wanting to go, but binding against that foam that's in the hole. And I made my cuts at that position and tried to kind of angle it up. And I'm hoping that we're gonna just get it through this time. I am gonna use some either this or something else that's rather small to kind of guide as someone pushes. I don't know if you can get that idea. These are 2 hacksaw blades. You just need some thin something so that it doesn't dig into the foam. I'm gonna try to guide it as another person pushes it through. And then once we have it on the outside, we should be able to snap on the outer cover. I'll have it attached to the dryer. And yeah, this is one of those, it's a good plan, but a lot of things are gonna have to happen right. Keep your big snake hose, because several times I was ready just to come back in here and throw that on there. But let's give it a shot. Alright, this gives you an idea of what we're faced with here. Try to wiggle this through the hole. Alright, that's good. Alright, go ahead and like wiggle and towards me. Wiggle as you push. Alright, I think that's it. How's it look back there? Alright, so here's what it looks like. Looks like we're through. Go ahead and pull out my little hacksaw blades. I'm gonna go ahead, before I attach this, I'm gonna turn it on and let it blow some of that junk out that's in there. Alright, dryer's running. Blowing like a beast. I got some screws and I need to go ahead and get the cover for it. Alright, here comes the last part. Now, I'm tempted to go ahead and caulk this up to keep some bugs from getting in and out, but man, that was such a job to get it in place. I don't know if I want to get it all glued in again, so I think I'm just gonna leave it the way that it is. Tell you honestly, I'm not even sure how much those are holding in, but keep the critters out. And there we go. Truthfully, doesn't even look that bad. Alright, so there you go. New dryer vent. Not just the attachment to the vent, but the entire thing all the way through. Gotta tell you, it's always these little jobs that end up being a real pain in the behind. So you better think long and hard before you want to take on something like this. You'd almost be better off just putting up a piece of plywood or something and drilling a whole new hole or something. But it is now attached. I sealed up that little adapter pretty well, so the laundry room shouldn't be quite as hot as it used to be. There were a lot of leaks, even with that big snake hose that we had. Some of the air was still blowing into the laundry room. Got real hot, hotter than it should have. And now hopefully we'll have a good vent system. Most of that air will go out, and yeah, that's it. So hopefully that helped you out. If it did, give me a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button, because that goes a long way to help YouTubers like me keep making videos for people like you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.